Hey everyone, this is Julia and welcome to this new video on JetFormBuilder plugin. In the previous one, we built a form for a front-end post submission, and if you missed it, I recommend you check that video out. Today, we will dive deep into conditional logic and its conditions, and also, I will show you how and where you can use it. Guys, if you are new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated about the new videos. But first of all, let's figure out what conditional logic is. Conditional logic is just a way to create a form that interacts with your users. For example, when a user clicks on a field, other fields on the form interact with that input and change accordingly. New forms may appear, drop-down menus may show up, other fields may disappear, and so on. This way, it allows you to control your form's behavior and guide the visitors so information is sent in the most efficient and effective way. The conditions are predefined rules used to determine how the form reacts to user inputs. And you can choose which fields to show or hide by matching the user inputs with the conditions. Moreover, using conditional logic will help you avoid creating long and complex forms on your website. In this tutorial, I will be showing you the example of applying conditional logic on this form. By the way, if you need to create a form from scratch, I suggest you take a look at our playlist on JetFormBuilder plugin. So this will be the form for requesting a wedding planning since I have a wedding agency, but you can use the same approach on your website. First of all, I'm gonna go to my website's dashboard, JetFormBuilder, Forms. Open the form you want to add conditional logic to. These are the fields that I added before, and they are all made with the help of the form field blocks like text field, number field, date field, select field, and so on. But since we will be applying conditional logic here, a new block will be used in this tutorial. It is called a conditional block. And here is a way of applying it. First of all, you add a conditional block, and then add one more block with the field that you need to set up conditions for. Let's say in this form I have a field for selecting the wedding venue. A wedding venue is also a taxonomy, that's why the source for this field is set to terms. Please be attentive here. By default, post or term ID is used as value. I will get back to this in a moment. Since I want to offer to organize the ceremony abroad only for the couples who choose the beach as a wedding venue, I will use a conditional block here. It will hide an extra field for the rest of the options and of course show it once the beach is chosen. For this, I'm gonna add a conditional block right after the select field, and then let's say insert a radio one inside it. I will add a label, and also there will be two options, yes and no. A quick note here, you're free to add one, two or more fields inside the conditional block if needed. So if there are no conditions for this field, it's gonna be visible all the time. However, if you want it to be hidden or visible depending on the user's choice, you need to add conditions. Select Conditional Block and then click on this button. A new window will pop up, and this will be the place where you can add, edit or delete conditions. Okay, there will be four options: type, field, operator, and a value to compare. Under the type, you need to specify the behavior, or let's call it action, that will happen to the field. Whether you need to hide this field, show it, or set a value. Hide this field if. In this case, the connected field is visible by default and will be hidden only when some conditions are met. Show this field if. Vice versa. The field will be invisible unless the user meets the conditions you set in this tile. Set value for this field if. When the conditions are met, the connected field will be filled with the data you type into the value to set bar. Keep in mind that if you want to use the third option, set value, that has to be just one field inside the conditional block. I will set it to show. The next option here, field. That will be all your previously created fields in this drop-down list. So in my case, the behavior of this radio field will be determined by the option selected in the wedding venue field. That's why I will choose a wedding venue field. Operator. This is where you choose the conditions the target field value has to meet. If they do, the connected field will be shown. It defines the way to compare the value you put into the values bar and the one from the chosen field. There are 6 options. Equal. If the value of the target field is equal to the value you have put to the value to compare text area, the connected field will be shown. Greater than, less than. The connected value will be shown if the value of the target field will be greater or lesser than the value you put to the value to compare text area. On the front end, it will look almost the same as the equal operator. Between. If you choose this operator, you have to set the range of values in the value to compare bar. The range is defined by 2 numbers separated by a comma. The smaller number goes first and the bigger goes last. The first and the last numbers are included in the range, which means that if you set the 2, 9 range, it will count as 2, 3, 4, 5 up till 9. When the value of the target field falls into the range, the connected field will be shown. In the list. This is a special operator for the checkboxes field. The conditional block will compare the value from the value to compare bar and the value of the option chosen by the user in the target field. If they are the same, the connected field will be shown. Contain text. The connected field will be shown if the text value of the target field will contain the value you put to the value to compare bar. This operator works with the fields that contain text information, text, and text area field. Okay, I will set the operator to equal. Value to compare is a certain value a field value will be compared to. In my case, a wedding venue is a custom taxonomy, and since I will be working with a tag ID will be used. And also, if you're working with the categories, you need to specify the ID of the category. Where to get this ID? Proceed to the taxonomy you need. Hover on or simply open any tag or category, and its ID will be right in the link. So in my case, the tag beach has an ID 185. This will be the value to compare. Don't forget to click Update. And the same thing I did for the next field, wedding theme, as I included an option Your Variant, so a couple could simply enter the theme of their choice if it's not included in the list. The next field I want to apply a conditional block to will be catering service. This is a radio field with 2 options, yes and no. First of all, I'm gonna add a conditional block and then add a text field inside it. This field will be shown if the user chooses to order a catering service, and then they will be able to specify their food preferences. For this one, I will select an already known operator equal, and this field will be shown if the yes option is selected. Alright, but we're not done here. I will add one more conditional block. Here is a scheme on how these 3 fields will work. At first, the user decides to add a catering service. When the yes option is selected, a new field will be shown for specifying food preferences if there are any. The second field will have a certain condition to show the last third field, and in my case, that will be a trigger word. Without this word, of course, the last field will stay invisible. As for the catering service, for me as a wedding planner, it would be great to know beforehand if it is needed to prepare a special menu for the couple and guests. That's why I'm gonna add one more conditional block and a select field inside it. I will set its label, and it will contain two options: vegetarian and mixed. So, how to set up the conditional logic in this case? I'm gonna go to the conditional logic settings of the third block. Type will be show this field. Then the next one field, I need to link it to the previous one. So it will be food preferences. Now the operator in this case will be contain text and value to compare, for example, vegetarian. If it is needed, you can also add more conditions and set different values for each condition. For example, I could also add a condition for vegan or anything else. Don't forget to update. Okay, so now you know that you're not limited to the number of conditional blocks. Moreover, you can apply conditional logic not only to the regular fields, but to the conditional blocks as well. Just keep in mind that you have to set the correct conditions for them and select the correct target fields. The last field I have in this form is approximate budget. This is a number field. I will also add a field that will calculate the suggested budget and it will be shown on certain conditions. Again, conditional block. Then I'm gonna use a calculated field, set a formula to calculate field value, and now let's set conditions for it. Operator will be different this time. I will set it to greater than. However, if you're also working with the numbers, you can select either less than or greater than. Value to compare in my case will be a certain sum. So if the user enters any number that is bigger than, let's say, 7,000, this field will be shown. I guess we're done here. I'm gonna update my form and proceed to the front end. By the way, don't forget to style the conditional blocks. Alright, this is my homepage, and right here I have a button that redirects to the page with a form. And now I'm gonna start filling it in. Here is a wedding venue, and I will select beach. One more field showed up with a suggestion to have a ceremony abroad. Alright, now a wedding theme. In case the user would like to suggest his own theme, that will be an option, your variant, and one more field will be shown. Great! As you can see, everything is working. I'm gonna proceed to the rest of the fields. Now let's check the catering service. I will select yes. Then in the field that just showed up, I will type vegetarian. And now we can see the third field. Finally, approximate budget. If you don't remember, the value I set for the conditional block invisible right now was 7,000. Let me enter, let's say, 2,000. Nothing showed up. Now I'm gonna set it to 8,000. And here is a calculated field with a suggested budget. By the way, as you can see, the calculated field also works perfectly. If you're also interested in using calculated fields in your forms, stay tuned, there will be a new tutorial very soon. So that was it for this tutorial. Guys, I really hope I convinced you that using conditional logic with the JetFormBuilder plugin is easy as pie. If you still have any questions, you can leave them under this video or contact our support team and they will gladly help you. Like this video, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.